Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is about the full moon in Gemini occurring on December 7th, 2022. And where I live in the Midwestern United States, it's going to be 11:09 p.m. Okay, some of you are going to have it on the 8th of December, that's for sure. If you're in Europe, if you're down under, you will have it on the 8th. And it's going to be at 16 degrees 2 minutes of Gemini. Now, one significant uh, aspect of this full moon is that Mars, which is currently retrograding in Gemini, will be at 16 degrees of Gemini. This will be almost an exact conjunction because Mars is at 16 degrees 7 minutes. The full moon is at 16 degrees 2 minutes. So that's super close. And it reminds me of the lunar eclipse in November, where the full moon and retrograding Uranus were in exact conjunction at 16 degrees. It's important to note that the number 16 in the tarot is the Tower card. So I know, I probably said that with the other one when we were talking about the lunar eclipse in Taurus. But these things, I think one of the things I said about that as well is that years from now, we will see more of the movement than we are in when we're like up close and personal with it. Because I think a lot of us are looking for this event that's going to occur that's just going to knock our socks off. And I feel like what is happening to end 2022, because of course this is the last month of the year, and the full moon kind of is one of those influences that tends to be like the finale, if you will. That it will be the case that we hear news about something. Like I was even I was thinking about like, what am I going to call this video? And I decided that I was going to call it breaking news. And right when I was, in the process of preparing to do this video, I was on Twitter and I was reading all these comments about people that were just kind of breathless about Elon Musk, who, by the way, has Gemini rising, releasing all these tweets that indicate manipulation by the former people in charge of Twitter before he bought it. So that's already happening, and it's not even, the full moon yet. It's only the second as I record this. So I don't even have to make a case for this. We already know that these things are happening, and actually in the United States, which I believe is ruled by Gemini, I think the United States is Gemini rising. And we do have such a media presence, that it wouldn't surprise me that that's the case. But there are going to be some political decisions that are actually based on the midterms that occurred on the day of the lunar eclipse in Taurus that are settled, or at least there's some kind of major developments around the time of that full moon. And the interesting thing about that is at every full moon and new moon, you can count a cycle as the time between one full moon and the next, and a lunar eclipse is actually a full moon, but it's times 3. It's more powerful. So that could be pointing to that cycle coming to that head when it's in Gemini, when the full moon is in Gemini. Gemini rules the third house, which deals with the media, and nowadays we would say social media. And so the town crier, the news, the newspaper, the rags, the radio, and I think television might even be 11th house. The 11th house might be movies and television. I'm not really quite sure because it's technology. The internet is also associated with the 11th house. But how I associate the third house is journalism, and media, wherever you get the news of the day. And Mars has been retrograding in Gemini. And the thing is that when Mars is in Gemini, the information that we receive can be something that triggers people into revolt, into, the warrior-like energy. And I've already seen this. This is not something new, but now Mars is retrograding, so there is kind of like that going over of old territory. And that's why I was noting that both of these, the past couple of full moons, that there has been a retrograding planet that has formed an exact conjunction with it. And the reason that I think this is happening is that it's like the full moon can bring secrets out into the light and illuminate the truth. And these retrograding planets can't move forward for some reason. There's something that has to be dealt with all over again. With Mars and Gemini, to me, it's like going over that data, going over a news story and redoing it and saying, no, that isn't how it happened, and telling the truth about it. Because, remember that at every full moon, the sun is opposing it. The sun is in the opposite sign. Well, what is the opposite sign of Gemini? Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is about the truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me, God. And it's the reason I don't know what to say about that, because Gemini, I think, can bend the truth big time. Gemini can be the used car salesman. And but this is, regardless, this is mutable energy with both of these signs. And I was looking at the aspects, and it's like there's all these squares from Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars to Neptune, in a conjunction with Jupiter to Neptune. Talk about a whopper. Neptune can be about deception. And all those planets are squaring it. And it's like, with the square, there's frustration, which means that the person is trying to find that enlightenment. I would say Neptune would be enlightenment about a particular issue, and yet they're being blocked. And, censorship is a form of blockage. But even within yourself, you can lie to yourself. And you can create your own blockage that way. And with the sun squaring Neptune, people can say to themselves, I don't know who I am anymore. And one of the reasons that they may be doing it is because of the spiritual upgrade. And that's another thing too. that is not necessarily reflected in what I just said, but is just, par for the course of what is going on, is that the madness that we're seeing, the insanity that we're seeing, is because um, things are breaking down. They can no longer function as they have. And I'm trying to think of an analogy, but I mean, I know you know what I'm talking about, but I mean, where there's like a free for all. You see those videos about fast food places and people come in and they just start like tearing everything out, like just complete chaos. Maybe they get mad at some kind of an exchange they have with the manager or whatever, or worker, and they just tear everything apart, or convenience store. And this is the kind of thing that we're seeing in all areas of life. And, those of us who are older, who have been around the block a few times, we know that this has not been like this forever. Now, we might have been lied to forever and are just starting to realize it, but it's really like clown world out there. I mean, it's really gotten cray cray. And so the thing is that the spiritual upgrade that the planet that maybe our galaxy, everything is ascending, means that we have to deal with the fact that not everybody is on board with that. Some people just don't understand. They're looking at it from the mundane perspective. And I'm sure some of you who are listening to this, you have to be um, part of the higher octave of this, because you are the ones that are into astrology in the first place. But some of these people that you, maybe your relatives or friends that you thought were like your close friends, are like reacting to the craziness, either believing it, kind of identifying with it, like they're still in that mode of just going along with whatever is presented to them and not questioning it. And so they're going to make their choices, just like we're going to make ours. As a result, you're seeing a lot of contrast, contradictory behavior, a split between camps of people. There's a word I'm looking for. A lot of disharmony and divisive tendencies. Um, People taking sides, polarization. That's what I meant to say. And because Gemini is a sign, actually Sagittarius too, all of the mutable signs are signs of duality in and of themselves, because they're double signs. The two fish are Pisces, the half man, half horse is Sag, the twins are Gemini, and the two virgins are Virgo. And so the upshot in this is that with all this mutable energy, there could be a lot of leeway for things to take a sudden shift. So a very fluid situation. If we get some kind of news, it could be like wildfire, where it spreads like a domino effect. And that's what a lot of us who are anticipating disclosure, some kind of like major event, and it doesn't have to be what everybody thinks it is. There are so many things it could be. It's like a linchpin, and then it sets everything else off. And sometimes these things are actually connected. where the players that are involved are connected in more than one scandal, if you will, and that brings down the house of cards. And it's funny because I know if somebody's listening to this, they're going to go, "Oh, well, she's obviously on this in this political spectrum, this side, whatever you want to call it." And it's like not true. I'm not. I really am not on anybody's side because I know that um, that is a trap too, to believe that there are actually sides. I mean, we know that it's about good and evil. So in that sense, yeah, I'm on a certain side. I'm on the side of good. I'm on the side of the light, not the darkness. And what we're going to be having to push back on is a lot of deception being put upon us. And that's why I say with the Sun square Neptune, there are people that are going through a crisis. Now, it's not going to be just on this date. This has been going on. This is ongoing, where people who, some people call normies, people who are in the matrix, who are in that hive mind, can feel discombobulated because it's like everything that they thought was true is being shown, is being proven, or is it proved or proven to be not true. But they had been gaslighted for so long, they've been lied to, that they don't know which end is up. And it extends to how they feel about themselves. The moon square Neptune can be disillusionment, can be in terms of your emotional nature. You thought, even like the people that are anticipating disclosure, even if there's like this major event, it could still feel disillusioning because the illusion was what we all lived under at some point in our life. And I've been thinking about this myself, like some of the things when I expose myself to past things that used to make me happy, and I'm like viewing them with fresh eyes, it's like there's a certain emptiness because it's like I no longer take pleasure in those things because I can, I saw how the sausage was made, and I don't want to deal with that anymore, and it doesn't have the same pull on me. But it can almost feel like an emptiness because before it was such a big part of our lives. And Mercury squaring Neptune, the news, the information, disinformation, all of this can create so much mental clutter and confusion. Venus square Neptune. This is the classic aspect that I see in natal charts with people who choose the wrong partners time and time again because they have this fantasy of what this person is, and this person is not who they think he or she is. There are a lot of couples, a lot of friends that have had a falling out because they realize that they're not on the same page with their friends or their lovers. And that can feel sad because you may feel like you're growing in different directions. Mars square Neptune, being motivated to take action based on an illusion. Don't be manipulated. There might be, situations where you need to do something, but make sure you know that what you're doing is actually something solid and something true, and not something that is distorted in some way or that you're trying to be the hero and you're really just, falling for the okey doke. We're going to have to really hold fast with these kinds of situations. Jupiter's in conjunction with Neptune. That just adds fuel to the fire of deception. Or you could even say idealizing things, but it's still um, blown out of proportion. And, the other things that are going on too is that the sun is opposing Mars, which can mean that people are projecting their own ego onto situations and claiming that they have to do certain things rashly, of course, because they're being stirred up, because the moon is in conjunction with Mars, being both in Gemini at the same degree. So, again, with all this manipulation, this illusion, or half truths, we have to keep our head. We have to, or I should say heads. I think we all have more than, well, we all have more than one head, right? Um, don't allow any outer force to um, instigate something for you. I've been saying this with some of these forecasts because sometimes it does happen that way. And the emotions get very intense. Luckily, because the moon is in Gemini, there's that detachment from the air element that will make it less intense, like maybe a Scorpio, or hot-headed like an Aries or something like that. But still, it acts like an Aries because it's in conjunction with Mars. And the fact that Mars has been retrograding, people may have swallowed their anger or felt like they were censored. I think censorship can be Mars retrograde. And it's like the boiling over point, where people say, no, I'm not going to shut up anymore. Well, that's fine. But now what are you going to do? Now you're going to be like a volcano that just blows up all of a sudden because you've been kept down so long that it's pressurized. It's a pressure cooker. We have to have equanimity at all times. That's part of the goal of yoga. So zen out, man. Yeah, so that's what I have for you, and I hope that in your personal life that you can find some truth. That This is still Sag's season, and Sag is a truth seeker. So you might have to push back against lies and kind of like the mundane. Gemini rules the mundane knowledge, the worldly knowledge, or even like the news is part of the world. The Sag rules the ninth house, which is kind of wisdom instead of knowledge. And wisdom never goes out of style. And I'm not saying, wisdom is superior to mundane knowledge. They both have their place. We have to navigate this world and we have to know the things of this world. But sometimes one gets abandoned for the other, and usually it's the wisdom that gets abandoned. So find that balance, and embrace peace in your life, embrace the truth. And I hope you enjoyed this. Take care. Bye.